to stand up for wrestling. I am here to give the fans a voice.
If you're not watching the promotion right now, you're missing out on something I think that could possibly shape the future of wrestling, and I mean this wholeheartedly, for the next 5 to 10 years.
Nobody can touch me. Nobody is better than Adam Cole.
This company is still existing, yet they have to do this at the 11th hour to make sure that they run these tapings. I thought TNA was going to be different, and I guess not.
This is truly the Kevin Owens Show.
Pentagon Jr. is the wind beneath my wings. The only thing that we get at 10 for sure, maybe at 11, is Ken Shamrock showing up.
Of course, I knew Bailey was going to be my partner because she's the only phone number I have in my phone, actually.
Speed dial number 1.
Yep. Oh. Bailey number 1, Funaki number 2.
Oh,
sorry. Just kidding. But yeah, thanks for being my partner.
You're welcome. I have Shinsuke as number 1 on mine. Love you. Anyway, I wasn't waiting by my phone or anything, hoping she would call. But I was. So when she called, I said yes, and it was a huge honor to make this a special night. You know, I have no words. It was magical, but it was a one-time thing for tonight.
By the way, Nakamura is my friend.
Dude, he's my friend.
No.
Okay, I'll have Hideo.
Danilo the ref. That's my friend.
He's my friend.
No,
Our
that's
guys
my
are hanging
friend.
out today.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Vieser.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 205, part 1, guys. That's right. We are ready for a new week of wrestling, and we've got a lot to talk about. Just to let you guys know, this is a show on the W2M network. If you're not a part of that, go do that. Go join that, and we want you guys to be involved because it is a great network. Plus, you know, there's lots of great things there you can find. Well, with this show, we're going to actually jump into a few things, like we're going to talk some Roman Reigns. That's right. Where is he going in this world of WWE? You know, we've seen some things transpire over the list, you know, the Battleground and, of course, Monday Night Raw. So we've got some stuff to talk about when it comes to him. And I think Dean Ambrose is another guy we need to get into, you know, his future, what he's got going. It seems like these guys are maybe taking opposite directions when it comes to their career, at the moment at least. Plus, we're going to get into some other great quick hits, like, you know, Eric Bischoff's got his own news show coming out. Kota Ibushi apparently has some news that we need to talk about because we all like the Cruiserweight Classic. So we're going to talk about Kota Ibushi a little bit here, too. So plenty of things that, you know, we're going to get into when it comes to not only WWE, but some other promotions as well. Then again, we also have to talk about Ring of Honor, right, guys? That's right. Ring of Honor had a big show because of the fact that there were lots of things involved that were not advertised. They advertised a completely different show. So now that we got a completely new show than what was, you know, kind of told, it's kind of cool and a lot to get into when it comes to Ring of Honor this week. So, guys, I'm thrilled about it, and I hope you are too. I'm your host, Gary, along with, of course, co-host, Mr. Sean Gomer, the producer. Man, I'm excited about, you know, what we got going here.
Yeah, some things to discuss. You know, I got to go take Anaya to her swim. This is the first time I've gotten to go because other times I've had to work and other things like that. But I got to go see her do her swimming thing, and they don't do a whole lot with them as far as letting them. It's still, you know, teaching them stuff. So they do stuff with like a little board, and they show them how to kick and stuff, and then they let them swim for a little bit, like to something and then the wall, to see if they are doing pretty well. And she's doing pretty awesome. So, you know, I'm happy about that. She's learning how to swim.
That's great. That's really awesome. I need to make sure I get my daughter in the water because especially going on a cruise, she's got to get in the water.
You know, hopefully no falling overboard or anything.
Oh, no, because she falls overboard, I'm overboard, and You're probably not going to be one co-host short. So
Curious lost at sea. Oh my god.
Well, I'm sure Amanda tells him to officially leave Gary behind or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, I guarantee you that's what will happen. She'll get Lily, they'll be fine. She'll just cash that life insurance in, and yeah, she'll be doing okay. So Sean, just ask for the equipment. Whatever I got, you can give it to whoever's new.
Okay.
And of course, we got here Mr. Paul Leeser. Man, how's it going? I know Comic-Con has been in your world, hasn't it?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it, watching all those trailers and everything. Like, it's super exciting, super exciting. All the Netflix trailers I really loved. I wasn't a giant fan of Justice League 1 personally, just because it looks about as good as BVS probably ended up being. So that's depressing.
How's King Kong look? I need to watch that trailer.
I'm a big giant monster movie fan. I love Godzilla, Gamera, King Kong, all those guys, anything that they make out of that. So I'm really excited for that one. It looks very modern day actiony. Like, I was a big fan of the one they made back in 2005, with Jack Black and all them. I really like that movie a lot. So I'm going to go see this too, because apparently they're going to do a big Godzilla King Kong versus movie again too, which is I'm really excited for. Yeah,
awesome. Oh wow. So that is really great news. I'm looking forward to that for sure. And one of the things I just have to mention, Legion, that looks really cool on FX. I kind of want to see that.
It does look really cool, and it's kind of neat. It's like a Marvel Fox blending there too, because you have all that, and then it's on FX, of course, which is Fox. So
yeah,
I don't know. It looks cool. It looks very different, which I'm very grateful for.
Definitely. So lots of great stuff coming your way if you're a comic book fan or just love movies in general. I mean, this is a really great time of year, especially with the Comic-Con in San Diego. For myself, really what's going on in my world, really just, I've got a lot of family in town this weekend, and, that was fun getting to visit and everything. So just kind of coming down from that, and, got a big work week ahead of me. So, it is what it is. Looking forward to seeing what's going on this week, and I'm excited about what we got going on the show too, guys. That's what really makes me happy. So let's go ahead and get into it, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into some quick hits real quick, and we'll be right back next.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right. Now, we got lots of big wrestling news topics to talk about, and, we're going to get into each of them. But I'm going to include a quick hit which involves us. And that is the fact that if anybody's noticed, in the intro of this show, I did not mention we are covering Monday Night Raw. Well, if you don't know and the secret's not out yet, just to let you guys know, we have separated Monday Night Raw into its own show. And that's right. You heard me right. It's its own show. Now, we are technically doing 2 shows in one night, but we're splitting them up to make it easier for you. And the reason I say that is because maybe you want to have a lunch break and you can't get through our normal show, which usually ends up being an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours on a normal basis because of all the things we cover. We want to make it easier for you so you can go to your lunch break or you can be on the way to work and you can listen to our show and you can feel complete. You get one out of the way and then later on you can get the other out of the way. So what we're doing now is we're having, of course, part 1 and part 2 of our normal Wrestling to the Max show, which is great. It's going to include all the great stuff you usually get a chance to hear. But for us now, we are going to separate Raw and SmackDown. Both of those shows will have their own W2M review show. So we've already covered the Raw one. We've actually recorded it before we did this show tonight. So go check that out. If that's where you're going to get all the information what happened on Monday Night Raw. On Tuesday night, we're going to do a live show once again. We'll cover everything about SmackDown. That'll be with Sean. Will be your host for that, along with whoever else is in the mix. Harry Broadhurst is supposed to be your permanent co-host on that show, Sean. But, I know he's got lots of things going on. We'll see if he gets the chance to be a part of that this week. And we'll have a rotating third co-host. That's right, rotating. It could be me. It could be Paul. It could be anybody. This week we actually have James Fonte as being a part of that show, which awesome guy. We love James Fonte. So we want you guys to know whoever's in that third seat is going to be great. And, it's going to be a completely different show. We're kind of doing our own brand split in a way, if you want to say it that way, with the different announced teams in a way. So just that's some information we want to drop on you guys. That way, if you listen to us every week, you know what's going on. You're like, why are they not talking about Raw here? It's because we already did. So go check that show out. You need to go do it. And that's another reason to join the W2M network. You don't even have to worry about it, guys. If you join the W2M network, it's going to be right there in your docket. You don't even have to think about it. You just go on there, look, oh, there's Raw, click, listen, there you go. So, that's just a little bit of housekeeping here, guys. Let's actually get into some wrestling news talk. And one of the topics that I want to get into today is the fact that Roman Reigns is a guy coming off suspension. We saw him come into Battleground and be a part of the main event. Lots of controversy with that because, let's be honest, a lot of people didn't really believe WB should have done that. Put him in the main event after he got suspended for 30 days. But it is what it is. They did it. Not exactly the Roman Reigns we really got a chance to see before those 30 days, let's be honest. And, of course, on Monday Night Raw, kind of the same effect. He got a chance to be part of the main event, but was not unbeatable. He was very human. And I think that was very interesting. I want to know what you guys think about Roman Reigns because what we've seen this weekend, but not only that, what's his future look like, Paul? I'm really curious.
First, him eating the fall Battleground, him eating the fall tonight, I'm sure he's going to eat some more falls coming up in the very, very near future. It's part of, you see this a lot. Somebody gets popped for wellness and they end up having to pay for it for a long time, sometimes a month, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it just kills their push altogether. Obviously, I don't think you can do that with Roman Reigns. He's your 3-time world champion. He's the guy who they sort of put the future of the company on in at least the short term, if not the long term. And I can imagine this is only temporary. I'm sure they'll find a way to put him back towards that top guy spot, whether it's face or heel. Because at this point in time, if you're going to do this to him, you're building up a pretty good reason to turn him heel, I think. So maybe he does a heel turn in the near future. I think that would be really cool. But, we've been calling for that for a long time. So probably not.
Yeah, maybe not. But then again, I felt like, when on Monday Night Raw especially, I kind of saw some aggressiveness. And I really felt like, there's that possibility. But yeah, I agree. Probably not. Sean, what's your thoughts on Roman Reigns? Because I know, you were kind of really wanting to get into this topic.
Yeah, this is interesting with Roman, right? He's eaten 2 falls now. He was the golden boy at one point, and now he seems to have lost the luster. And perhaps not just in eating falls because it's wellness, that maybe, Vince isn't so enamored with him anymore after being disappointed by what's happened here. And it might take a little bit of Roman really gaining trust. It seems like, and that's one thing we didn't talk about. I can't believe I forgot to talk about on Raw, but I guess it works much better here. They lowered the volume, obviously, because Roman Reigns was getting booed. Mm-hmm. And they did not want... They're still in this mode of they do not want the crowds in the arenas to brainwash the fans watching at home to hear the boos and want to then come to their arena and boo Roman Reigns. And also just that the public at large feeling that Roman is being booed. And I think it's terrible. It's stupid to all this stuff that you did for the fans on this Raw episode. And then you're going to kill the crowd, Mike, for almost a lot of this show because you don't want people to, you don't want it to be heard that Roman Reigns is getting booed. We know he's getting booed. Everybody is booing the crap out of the guy. Every time we've seen him, he's getting booed. They were chanting Roman sucks, and Roman still sucks, just to prove the point that Roman... They don't care about him. Or not they don't care about him, but they don't want to see him in that way that he was being pushed. And so I don't see what the big deal is. It's like, okay, the only thing I can think of, guys, is maybe this is what it like. They want to have that feeling of they decide if Roman turns, they want the feeling of WWE decided to turn Roman. They didn't turn him because he's getting booed by the fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. They are very much into them being the final say, them having all the right answers, and we don't. And that's fine. I mean, that's their company. It's Vince's, people say, his playground. I get it. But on the other hand, I mean, I think that they need to listen to the audience sometimes and really evaluate where they're coming from and not just say that they're a bunch of smarky jerks and they're just hating on things just to hate. There are people out there to do that. That's completely understandable. I mean, we've had some people that listen to our show and say, you guys don't badmouth people enough. You guys aren't down on everything. Why are you, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of get mad at us. And I'm like, that's not what we're here. That's not what we're about. And I think that's where Vince gets a little lost sometimes because our show's definitely not here to hate on everything that Vince McMahon loves. I don't care whatever he loves. I'll just tell you what the truth is about me, who I am. And you guys do the same thing. It's your opinion. So I think that this Roman Reigns situation is going to boil down to how much they really do believe in him now that he did have that pop, now that he's got some people may be feeling sorry for him. I kind of feel sorry for him, to be honest with you myself. Maybe this redemption thing is a good move on Vince's part because the way he's acting, I do feel bad for him. Now, do I want him to be the golden boy again? Definitely not. But I'm telling you right now, Roman Reigns is winning me over with this, hey, I'm a human being thing. I like that.
So I think when you look at what they've done with Roman post Shield, because he was fine in the Shield. What really kicked the hornet's nest was how obvious and how much they showed you he's going to be the next guy, and it wasn't going to be a long-term build thing like it was, kind of with The Rock a little bit, or some of these other guys that they've built up in the past. Bret Hart is a great example, I feel too. It was going to be very, very much, it's in the now, he's getting pushed this hard, and you're going to like it. And anytime something like that happens and it's not it's not organic enough, it's going to get turned on. Because people don't want they don't want to be told what to think. And obviously that's what they went with here. And that they're working against a problem that, Roman doesn't deserve. He's a fine guy. He just doesn't, he happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And a lot of people are wanting something different, and Roman isn't different enough. On top of the fact that he was given the here's the sign, it says Golden Boy on it real big across the chest. You're walking out there, and it's obvious what you're supposed to be. That's the only reason we're in this situation, is because they decided to do this hard this soon. If they had let it be more organic, you look at this maybe from where they started and he's just now starting to get the title run, or he's just now starting to be in the title picture, maybe you don't have what you have on your hands right now.
Yeah, I agree. And it's going to be really interesting to see how this develops because of the fact that we still have those stigmas about him. And what if they do turn him heel? What if they just go on this run of, he's not the Golden Boy anymore. He's just another superstar, a main event superstar, but not a superstar that's not going to take pins. He's already proven in 2 nights in a row he's taken pins. And that means a lot when it comes to the viewers. It means a lot when it comes to the writing teams and, of course, the brass. So I have my own thoughts on it. I think for me personally, I feel like that they are eventually going to get back around to making him a big deal. I think right now they've got to let the stigma of, hey, he did something that he wasn't supposed to be doing. That's not a really good thing. We're going to tear him down and bring him back up. Is he going to take the Triple H tear down? I don't know that he's going to get that bad of treatment. I really don't see him getting put in that place that Triple H kind of get placed in. But I still do see him have that decline for a little while until they feel like fans have kind of let it go away. Let that pass from their mind, and then they'll kind of come back with Golden Boy Roman Reigns, or hopefully more human Roman Reigns. A guy that's going to win a lot, but a guy that can lose. That's the guy I want to see. So.
I mean, do you guys think that the Roman push is over now?
No.
Like, do you think that maybe Vince has kind of cooled off on him, and we see him kind of go back into the mid card for a bit?
Cooled off on him, yes. Done, no. They've invested too much already, and Vince isn't going to let that die.
And there's nobody else in that place at this moment that he feels is that guy. You know, we look at John Cena. John Cena is a guy that, you know, women like to look at. Roman Reigns is a guy that women like to look at. On this roster, I can't think of another guy that's that size that has that much sex appeal. And I just often, I mean, okay, I'll say that Finn Balor may have it. You know, the guy's an underwear model, of course, he has that. But the thought process on him is he's not a big guy. And I don't think that Vince is still willing to give up on a larger guy being his top dog, no matter how much he lets the little guys run around and you know, win titles and do things we've never really let him do. I think that he's kind of won that number one guy, the golden boy, to be in that size of a John Cena, in the size of a Roman Reigns. Right now, they don't have that. If they had another one, I would be more willing to say Roman Reigns may be done, but they don't. Right now, Roman Reigns is still that guy. In fact, right now, women are making excuses for Roman Reigns and everything he was doing, getting popped, getting upset, you know, saying, oh, it's not his fault that he lost, things like that. They're making excuses for him, which means that he is over with a certain group, which is good for Vince. It's just going to cool down for a while. So,
what about you, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, you know, for me, like, it's just, I wonder if there's got to be a reason why we saw the Monday Night Raw that we got this week. And I wonder if maybe he might have just decided, okay, look, we need to start exploring other options. We have John Cena's only getting older. He's starting to go doing other things. You know, Randy Orton, he's obviously been injured a lot. He's very injury prone, so there's only so much you can do with him now. You know, Roman Reigns wellness suspension, Brock Lesnar public relations liability, but again, he is the star he's going to be, and he's a huge star, and you can still build your brand around him, but I don't know that you can build your future around him because there's only so many years that you need a full-time guy that's going to be there. Perhaps maybe not a John Cena type, but a guy that sort of can be the next star of your show, and maybe he finally sees it. It may not. He's always built it around one guy, and again, it's hard to see that it's not Roman, but could it be Finn? Could it be Seth Rollins? Could it be Dean Ambrose? You know, those are guys that, again, have proven that they're there. They're not going to get into trouble. They can go do interview stuff. I mean, we haven't seen Finn do that. We've seen him be the man in NXT. We've seen him carry NXT, so that's a very good plus for him. But we've seen Seth Rollins be able to go out there and do the interview thing. We've seen Dean Ambrose be able to go out there and represent the company as well. And maybe you don't have that prototypical look, but, you know, at the end of the day, Daniel Bryan didn't either, and he was able to gain that spot of being one of the company guys that went out there and represented the company. And look at him now. I mean, he's one of the stars of SmackDown. Even in the GM role, he is one of the reasons why you're watching SmackDown every Tuesday night. And could one of those guys, even though they're not Roman Reigns type, be the next one?
You bring a good argument. You really do. And I know I want them to be a company that's very, I don't know, that has duality, that they can, use different guys to be those big stars and not be focused on just one solo guy being the face of the company. And they're kind of doing it now, with two different brands, right? I mean, we got, we're about to have two different champions on both brands, and those two guys can both divide their time. One can go to California and be on a morning talk show. One can go to New York and be on a morning talk show on the same day and represent the company in a positive way. You're not having to deal with just one guy. So, I mean, you're right. Maybe Roman could get lost in the shuffle. I just don't know. I think, like I said, I think they're disappointed with him. I just don't know that they're going to give up on him right now. I think if he has another problem, then I would say this is going to be a situation where Roman Reigns is going to start taking that back burner spot and no longer be the guy they want. And so we'll see. I don't know. It's very interesting. But talking about
how long do you think
Mhm.
it takes before he gets back to that top spot?
6 months.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. 6 months. I don't think it's going to take that long. They're not going to wait too long.
So
I
like
wouldn't-
Royal Rumble time.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if he wins the Rumble. I really wouldn't. At the same time, though, what they're doing now, maybe it is longer. I mean, wrestling, WWE has been at its best when it has a top guy and a committee under him who can switch in, and they always have an idea of who the top guy is. They never have an idea of who the committee is. So maybe that's where you put your focus right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I say it's going to be very interesting, and we could be completely wrong on that. I mean, maybe 6 months is too short a time. I don't know. I kind of think that's right about the correct time, but they could surprise us. But
I mean, I'm just saying, like the way they made Finn look on that Raw, to me, that's when you want to make a star really fast, and just.
But
I
they need it.
They certainly need it, but that's the thing, though. Like, because of what's happened with Roman, it certainly changed his attitude of maybe we need to start looking elsewhere, and maybe Reigns is used more as the guy to, like what we saw with Finn, as the guy to sort of prop up the ones that will wind up being above him, And who knows? Do you think we see that? The thing I think we haven't talked about is, do you think we see the turn for sure now, or are we still hesitant about the turn?
I don't know about the turn. I certainly think he needs it, just because it's so much better, at least in WWE booking, when you have a guy start or go heel and then come back as a face, because they have such a better time, and maybe I shouldn't say they're so much better at presenting heels than they are faces, in my opinion. And even then, you look at who they're pushing now and who makes the most noise is guys like us. Maybe they're sort of pandering to that too. And maybe, I mean, I'm not saying that's right or anything, but the people who make the most noise at these shows are guys or guys and girls or whoever has been watching wrestling for a long time and watch wrestling from multiple promotions, not just what they get on WWE every week. So I wonder if there's some pandering there too, especially with that. I mean, it's not like Finn hasn't proven he can't carry something, as you said, Sean. He can carry he carried NXT very successfully. But do you think there's some pandering going on too to guys like us who are making all this noise, not only on the internet but at live shows when we do go?
Oh my gosh, Gary! This whole Raw felt like it was pandering.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I mean, I'm not saying that maybe they perhaps have not changed into that direction. And the ratings will obviously bear that out if they need to keep going that way. But this Raw felt like we're just going to go straight to that hardcore fan and see what happens. And the worst thing that happens is we have to change course again. Because, I mean, all the wrestling on this show, the guys that we're focused on, for the most part, all people that, you can throw out the Jericho and the Roman Reigns because you got to have that presence, and they're still going to have their guys. But 5 of those guys were quote unquote indie darlings or former NXT guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, in those main events, Sasha and Charlotte too, and just maybe they are doing it. We'll see what they do on SmackDown. But again, if those ratings go up, maybe they have to start realizing that your hardcore fan base is the way to go.
Exactly. And I think that's the, argument that I've always had is that, they want to do it their way, which, it's their company. They can do whatever they want. But why not try it the way that the crowd actually is cheering? Why not go ahead and go the routes that maybe the internet is going and that they seem to be very pleased with? I think you may want to try it just to see if it works. And if it works and it gets you ratings and it gets you to the level that you want to be, that's success. What's wrong with success? If it doesn't work, maybe the fans are saying things, and in reality, the fans are just fans and they're not, really knowledgeable about some things. Then you'll learn your lesson. You'll learn that, hey, we're doing it the fans' way, and it's not getting us any more ratings, and nothing's really changed. Why even do that? Well, let's just do it the way we feel is best. So I think they've got to do those things. And, like I said, this is a new era. They have the opportunity now to do those things. There's no better time than now to go ahead and, throw out some tests and see how your hypothesis is going to turn out, right? So, it is what it is. I look forward to seeing what they do with SmackDown because of that reason, because SmackDown is going to have a lot of different components. It's probably going to be tilted a different direction because Raw, they want it to be its own thing. So SmackDown is going to find its own path, and I'm very curious to find out that path. I'm also kind of curious to find out the path that we're going to find Dean Ambrose on. Because, of course, he is the WWE champion, but not only that, they seem to found more interest in him. He's going to be on the Stone Cold podcast in a couple weeks, which is a great thing. But not only that, with two guys being on Raw and him not being one of them, and them letting him take the title over to SmackDown, to me it feels very important. To me it feels like that they believe that Dean Ambrose can do something. What direction do you see him going, Sean? I mean, do you think that, this is a thing we can really depend on, or is this just hey, we'll let him run with it for 3 months and then we'll be done with it?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because very much like what we thought, it was set in stone that Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins was going to be the main event of SummerSlam. And now they've changed it to Seth Rollins and Finn Balor. And it was supposed to be John Cena and AJ Styles fighting over whatever the SmackDown Championship was supposed to be, right? It wasn't supposed to be Raw that was crowning a new champion. So it's going to be interesting if they pull what we got with Sasha Banks and Charlotte and have Dean Ambrose lose it on the SmackDown before SummerSlam, and you still get John Cena, AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. Or if they have Dean Ambrose wrestle, I don't know. I'm trying to think because all those other guys are in matchups with Dean Ambrose and Bray, or Dean and Alberto Del Rio, so he doesn't try to leave, or because that's apparently something that's going around, is that Del Rio is not happy about. Apparently, the two people that were legit not happy about where they were drafted were Del Rio, because he's away from Paige, and possibly, I think, because he wants to be a star and he thinks of Raw as the star brand, and Cesaro because he wanted to be on the brand where Daniel Bryan was going to be and all that stuff. Do you do... I just don't know. Like, we've seen Bray and Dean so many times, Can you really go back to that well, even though it looks like they're really trying to... It seems like they might be in for a push for Bray. I mean, it's so weird with Dean. Like, one minute you think they're really behind him, one minute you think they're not. Right now, it really feels like they are behind him, and he looks so good at Battleground between the promo and the match, and then what he got to do at SmackDown and then Raw that week. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to believe that they're really, really behind him. And maybe they are. And I'm just overthinking this. And they're just going to let AJ and Cena be a thing for themselves. But it's so hard to think of who you could wrestle because you've got so many unknowns on that roster. And the ones that are known, he's wrestled a lot before.
With the way Raw turned out today, I honestly, God, would not be surprised if Cena and AJ's next singles match is happening this coming SmackDown episode. And that's your main event, and it's also your number one contendership to who faces Dean for the championship at SummerSlam. And I think it's AJ Styles. And that's what you go with at SummerSlam. You have Dean and AJ, you have Finn and Seth, then away you go, and you figure out something else for Cena because he can make somebody else or something else much more interesting, something buzzworthy, and you find your way with the rest. That's why SmackDown is so much more interesting. Like I said on the Raw show, there's so much more they have to accomplish over on SmackDown to make people feel like they matter. And when it comes to Dean, whether they realized it or not, he was the face that they were waiting for to carry something on that side of the fence. Because Roman was failing, you already had Seth as your top heel, and you have Dean. He was being mishandled the whole time, but people still loved the guy. I mean, I don't know how you couldn't be behind him. And it looked like they were behind him, at least on Sunday. And for now, he's carrying SmackDown, and maybe that's more important. That speaks more to how they feel about him right now whenever you get outside the top 6 or 7 guys, because you really don't have a whole bunch of anything else left going on down on SmackDown. So it's him and those guys trying to carry that show until SmackDown finds its way.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I think that that's a important situation for Ambrose to be in, because if he can prove right now that he is that guy and he can carry SmackDown to good ratings, if he can get people's attention. We all know that when him and Roman Reigns were on various live events, Roman Reigns would be on one, and main event, Dean Ambrose would be on the other, and Dean Ambrose would, outsell and be the more successful when it comes to, getting people to show up. That means a lot, and I think maybe WWE's looking at that, and they're looking at other things and saying, this guy can do it. I think it's just so important for him to be in this situation, because if he can do well, and SmackDown is successful, this guy could go very, very far, further than he is now. I mean, I think now he's in a good spot, of course, because he's a WWE champion, right? I mean, there can't be any better place you can be. But what I mean by that is a guy they can rely on, a guy that's going to stay in the main event picture and not just all of a sudden be gone out of the main event picture for a year and a half and then show back up. He's going to be around it for a normal amount of time if he can prove himself. And I don't know, Sean, I feel like, them handing him on the ball for a new brand split era, I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, certainly. We're still talking about
Dean Ambrose.
Dean. It is. I just said it's amazing to me that they didn't make somebody else champion by then, except for Dean. And they kept it on Dean, and like I said, they made him feel like a huge deal, like he is the heart of SmackDown. And so now he's a champion carrying it over. And do they have him beat AJ or have him beat Cena at the SummerSlam? I almost would. I think you can certainly have AJ win it later. Cena's held it so many times now. I mean, does he really need to hold it ever again? Probably not. I think you ride Dean until you don't anymore. Just for me, I think he's proven to you that he can carry the ball. He sells houses, everything you want in a champion, Dean does.
Yeah, he does. And, you're talking about, WB, relying on him and riding him as far as they can. I mean, Renee's proven that she can do that, so I think
oh, my God.
So anyway.
I knew you were going to go there. She did officially get drafted to SmackDown, by the way, so, again, just Del Rio and Paige as far as the, supposedly Dana Brooke and Dolph are a thing right now, I guess, but...
Dolph, man, what Dolph? Really? Wow.
Well, apparently Dolph just gets around, so,
I guess it's not like a permanent thing. I'm just surprised, but, I don't know.
I mean,
maybe not.
Hey, he can't get Nikki Bella, so he had to go get the other girl with the big boobs right now.
There you go. So that's a little tidbit of information. Well, there's something else when it comes to this brand split we need to talk about, and that's the fact that we got officially the 2 actual brand split pay-per-views, right? So the specific pay-per-views following SummerSlam are going to be Backlash, which will be involved with SmackDown, and then we got United Champions, which will be tied to Raw. So those are two pay-per-views that I think will be very interesting. I'm really looking forward to this whole Night of Champions one, or Clash of Champions. I said Night of Champions. That's completely wrong. That's the old way. They are now officially doing it the WCW way, Clash of Champions, which is very awesome. So, what do you think about this? I mean, do you think that do you like the choices here for the brands, or does it matter? I just think the Clash of Champions is a big deal.
What makes it even more interesting is that the U.S. title is on Raw, and back in the day for WCW, if you were the U.S. champion going into a Clash of the Champions, you got a world title shot. Does that carry over?
That would be interesting.
Very. I like the thought process.
It would be awesome if they did that. Just you don't have to. I mean, they could relate it back to WCW if they wanted to. I mean, part of that, part of the nameplates and everything with that fire certainly reminded me of Nitro. With some of the look of what they did with Raw on Monday, but just it's gonna be interesting if they decide to do that or not.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and Backlash is Backlash. To me, that's the one that doesn't really hold a lot of nostalgia. I mean, it's got some Backlash has had some great matches. Don't get me wrong, but I don't look at it the same way as I do Clash of Champions. So.
Backlash also used to be your WrestleMania Rebound show before we switched everything around. So, I mean, what's in a name, obviously, for a pay-per-view name, but it's something that has a history, and at least they're drawing on stuff that has history and backing behind it, and something that might actually get fans interested. That's cool.
We mentioned WCW. We're going to jump into some rapid hits here. One of the rapid hits I want to jump into briefly is Eric Bischoff is going to come out with his own podcast, and I've always been interested in Eric Bischoff because I was a big Nitro fan back in the day. Do you guys have any interest in that?
I do, actually. Eric Bischoff's always been one of the more interesting figures in pro wrestling, not simply because he's not a big pro wrestling background guy. He's a businessman that happened to learn wrestling. And that's kind of cool. He has a very different view on things, and I think most of your prototypical favorite promoters like a Paul Heyman, who certainly did have a huge wrestling background, obviously being in the business since he was young, and other stuff like that. So a very different perspective on wrestling is what Eric gives you, and I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, Eric Bischoff has been always. I mean, I loved his book, his documentary DVD. Everything that they've kind of had him in, I've really enjoyed listening or hearing, from him. Vince Russo has his, and he gets to tell his story. Now let's see what Eric Bischoff has to say, and if he's really going to be discussing any of the current day stuff and what he thinks about that, or if it's going to be all about him telling stories and interviewing people like we see a lot of these former wrestler podcasts be. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could go any of those directions, and like Paul, you said, he's a businessman, and I'm very interested in seeing him talk about some things in wrestling and maybe some other specific things like TV, because he's involved with TV, makes some of his money off it. So I think that he has a lot of great opinions, and I'd love to hear him talk about as we go on with the, of course, WBE, but maybe some other promotions. Maybe he'll jump into some other promotions like TNA or anybody else and kind of give his own thoughts and opinions, and maybe he can book it. I'd love to hear it. So let's talk about the fact that Bo Dallas is, without his social outcast friends. So now he's going back to the Bo Leave gimmick. Do you think that's a smart move?
Bo Leave is always a fun gimmick, so long as he holds onto the Bo Train element from the Social Outcasts. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I mean, the Bo Leave thing is what he brought up to the main roster with, so it's cool. Just it pretty much died a death really fast. The first time, they're going to have to figure out how to make this not a total just, okay, he's going back to this, I don't care, and you have to make people care. And weird that we didn't even get a mention of Heath Slater at all. He's supposed to be the hot free agent. We didn't get anything.
No, very interesting.
I kind of hope he's still sitting in that same chair he was in during the draft, just in that same arena, just hanging out like, when am I getting drafted, man?
I hope that happens too. I would love to see it, man. That'd be great. Him at Stanford, just sitting there, like, okay, hey, what brand am I again? Yeah. We do know Brock Lesnar is a part of the Raw brand, and he will be appearing apparently next Monday night on Raw. What kind of reaction do you think he's going to come out to?
I'm curious, really, how this is all going to work. Obviously, Heyman still not under the deal. We talked about this some on last week on one of the shows that we did, because God, they're all starting to run together with how many we've been doing recently. But so I mean that's an interesting wrinkle. Obviously, you have what Randy said on Battleground working against him now, so he's got to fire back from the steroid joke or the enhancement joke, quote unquote. So I'm interested. I think it'll be really cool, and hopefully it's some good television.
Yeah. Sorry, I drew a blank about.
It's Brock Lesnar, being back on Raw this next week.
It's I wonder if they're going to prepare some kind of video for Randy Orton to have his kind of say, sort of like what they did with Brock for a while. What they showed at Battleground, that video of Brock that they kind of played, I think during, was it the Roman match, or I don't know. I think it was one of his first matches. I wonder if they do something that like that with Randy Orton, and they kind of have Heyman and Brock respond, or do we even see Paul Heyman? Because that contract supposedly they hadn't figured things out yet, but they have to. They have to. It's not the same without Paul Heyman there speaking for him. Who knows what he's going to go say? Especially you give him a live mic and let him even mention something about the stuff with the USADA stuff. That's going to be hilarious.
Oh,
I hope we do get some good TV. Wouldn't be surprised if Brock just goes and mauls some people. That's always fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I think they really need to do some PR build up here and really help Brock. I mean, I'm not saying that people are going to come out and boo him to death when he comes. I don't think that's going to happen. I just think you may get a few of the hecklers. You may get some people that give him a hard time because he got popped for doping in the UFC, even though that wasn't WWE Wellness, that was another company, but still people know about it. So I really feel like they got to do some PR build to kind of help him, get through this. Maybe I think a couple of ideas is maybe have him come out and say he's sorry. Well, he is living in Canada.
He is representing Canada. That's true.
Yeah. So he says sorry. And then the other thing is they show a nice video, Sean, you just mentioned video package. A video package about Brock Lesnar helping children. And the way he's helping children is he's going school to school, talking to them about bullying, and then, F5ing all the bullies on the playground and making all the other children happy. So I would love to see that, just seeing that. That was gold. And so we'll see. I don't know. They won't probably do my idea, but I wish they would.
Be a star, be F5'd.
Yeah. You choose. I love it. So, something else we're going to talk about is the Kota Ibushi situation. Now, we all know Kota Ibushi has been a part of, New Japan, of course, and DDT and promotions out east. But over here in the States right now, he's working with a Cruiserweight Classic that WB is doing every Wednesday night on the network. And we've been thrilled about it because we know Kota Ibushi very well. The one thing that we kind of said some false statements not long ago because we all believed that he had signed a deal with WB along with some other guys. Apparently that is not true. He actually has not signed a deal yet. WB is trying to get him to sign a deal. In fact, apparently he's saying that every time they meet with him, they're putting a contract in front of his face saying, sign now, please. He's not. He doesn't want to. And the reason he doesn't want to, apparently, is he does want to get to be IWGP heavyweight champion. That's the goal of his. And he wants to do that before he signs any deal with WWE or any other American promotion. So what do you think about this? Do you think this is an interesting situation?
This is a bit of a head scratcher for me. He gets injured, and he says that he can't work New Japan and DDT anymore because the workload was too much for him.
So he's taking some time off. He's working a lot lighter schedule now. He's done a DDT show or two. He's done obviously he's worked Evolve and some other stuff over the WrestleMania weekend, and now he's doing the Cruiserweight Classic. It seems like this is either I don't want to say BS, but it could be BS because he's gone on record as saying he also wants to wrestle where Shinsuke and Sami Zayn are, and he's there, and they're offering you a deal. I don't understand why you wouldn't take it.
Maybe he wants to wait until they actually have the final or whatever and see what they actually do with him. Or if he goes out there and has an incredible match and maybe that makes people make the offer bigger for him. You know, it could be about the money. It could be about he's not totally sure if this is where he wants to be. He's okay doing this right now, but he wants to make sure this is what he wants to do. It's, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't sign because of all the things you just said, Paul. Just, he seems very hesitant about what he does. You know, seems to have lost a lot of respect from the New Japan folks and everything else. But I mean, even if you've got possibly Kenny Omega coming or the Young Bucks, and you've got another story you get to tell there with Kota Ibushi, I mean, I think it's gonna be just time before he signs. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we see him go back doing some indie stuff first, and then he signs later, or he's just waiting until that September 14th show and what they do, and then he signs then.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And, you know, I'm looking forward to him actually signing with WWE because I want to see him on a regular basis. But I don't know. This is a head scratcher. Can't figure it out. One last thing I just want to throw out there.
I wonder if he thinks he should be making Nakamura money.
Ooh.
He is in no way as big a star as Nakamura was. Nakamura was one of the go-to guys in New Japan. Kota Ibushi made a lot of noise and certainly brought his fair share of star power to New Japan, and especially carried DDT at certain times throughout its existence. But no way he should be making Nakamura money. No way.
Fair enough. One last thing I want to jump into real quick is, you know, we all got a chance to see the finale for Lucha Underground Season 2. We are going to be waiting for Season 3 to be coming out, hopefully not too long in the near future. But, you know, talk of Season 4 is already kind of circulating because Season 3 is already filmed. It's already complete. They could put it all out on TV right now if they really wanted to. They're choosing not to. They're just kind of buying their time. But Season 4 is going to be interesting because they're considering filming in the fall and, of course, in the winter. So saying that, do you guys have any expectations of, since we have no idea what's going to happen on Season 3, but do you have any expectations about, where direction that they could go if they're doing it in these, filming this far in the future? Because it's so interesting. We haven't even seen a whole season they're filming. Do you think this is a wise idea, seeing that guys like, well, let's talk about the big guy. Blanking on his name right now. The main event guy that's leaving. Ricochet, thank you. With Ricochet already being out in the news that he's gone, people watching Season 3 are already going to have their, basically thoughts about it, like saying, oh, Ricochet's on NXT or wherever he's at. What do you think? I mean, are they getting too far ahead of themselves?
Well, for Ricochet to even sign with WWE or anybody else that has television, he has to wait for Season 3 to finish airing. So he can do a lot of other stuff right now, but it's going to be a while before we even get to talking about WWE or anybody else with television. That being said, I don't have a large problem with Lucha Underground filming ahead as far as what it gives them. It's cheaper to film out this far ahead and everything like that. 2, I think it guarantees that at least you're still striking while the iron is hot. And for Lucha Underground, I think that's very important to keep momentum going, especially with, you're building up off of essentially word of mouth because you're not on a bigger station. Mm-hmm. And 3, I think it's better for the wrestlers. 1, you film it all in one big chunk.
If your guys are healthy, you go with them. If they're not, then you're not totally screwed out of the boat unless they get hurt on one of your shows. Then it could kind of hurt. But honestly, I think it's a fine idea. I think it works for especially how they're presented and all that too. So I don't have a problem with it.
You know, I think it's a smart move, I guess, from your coming point, and I think that's a good deal for the wrestlers. It's a good deal for them because once again, they've already got a full season under their belt, so financially, you know, they're going to make their money from whatever they're doing, and it's going to be, you know, at least presentable. But this is the thing I think about, Sean. I think about controversy. I think of the things we've seen in wrestling as of late, just because of Brock Lesnar, Adam Rose, you know, people, and not that Lucha Underground's worried about wellness or any other kind of situation. But I think the biggest thing is what if one of these guys was to do something that was illegal? It was bad PR. I don't want to specify what it is, but let's just say something very illegal. And he's one of their big guys, or he's in a major storyline. And it really messes up their season because they've centered their whole season around a guy that, you know, has controversy. Is that a situation they should be concerned about, or should they just say, you know what, it's not worth to worry about?
I don't think so. I mean, it's one of those things where it's already taped. What does it matter? I mean, and you can, and they already build a show as they are trying to get season 4 for the sole purpose of being able to sell it in syndication. Mm-hmm. That tells you right there what they think of Lucha Underground, as far as Lucha Underground is a TV show that has wrestling in it. And that is what they're selling Lucha Underground as. It's not, they might tour here and there in the summer if they ever do it. If they ever can get all the logistics that they feel like they have to have in order to have a touring Lucha Underground, but they are a TV show with wrestling in it. And like, to me, when all I ever hear about Lucha Underground is them talking about it like a TV show, and them talking about business stuff with Lucha Underground as a TV show. Like, that already classifies it differently than what we see, other than when contracts come up or when TV deals are an issue or whatever, like it is for TNA has been, or what it's been for WWE. But you still think of those things as wrestling promotions. I don't always think of Lucha Underground as a wrestling promotion just because of the way they run things and the way they do that show. You know?
Yeah, and I get that, and I totally do. My biggest problem, and I'll take it out of wrestling, since you made the point that this is more of a show, not about the wrestling. Paul, let's just say Stephen Amell decided he loves wrestling. He wants to be like Chris Benoit. Would Arrow be canceled? If they filmed all of Arrow's season, would they say, we can't put this on air? This guy is just... No one's going to watch it, first of all, because of what this man did. That's what worries me about Lucha Underground. I mean, not saying it's going to happen. This is a stretch. I am really stretching it. But I don't know. It was just something interesting I was thinking about.
So here's the thing. Lucha Underground is very different from every other promotion that you see on television because it is owned partially by the television company that's presenting it. El Rey has ownership stake in it, all this other stuff, so they have to worry about so much more than just what wrestling product they're putting on. That being said, they have a wrestling infrastructure. They have guys like Conan and all these other guys working backstage and running that show and keeping it all in line. So you have very different opinions about what they want the promotion to be, where El Rey wants it to be almost a cornerstone, I think, of its network, because they always present it very highly at these television... I'm blanking on the word. Television. Yeah, upfronts. Thank you. And then at the same time, you have the wrestling infrastructure who wants to take it on tour, and they want to do all this other stuff because they have so much hype and so much buzz that why wouldn't you want to take it around and make more money? And El Rey doesn't see it that way. I'm not real sure where you were going with the Stephen Amell reference there, Gary. Like,
my reference is, I mean, let's say Stephen Amell did something terrible. I don't want to. Let's just say he committed murder. Let's be honest. Let's just say he committed murder, and you know, he just, I don't know who. That's not what's important. What's important is, will they show Arrow? Well, if they have it out there, I could see Arrow being taken off even taken off the band on some because of the fact that it's just bad PR.
Maybe. That, I mean, obviously is a very far stretch, and I don't know exactly how CW would go about wanting to do that. But when you have a show as popular as Arrow, especially something that draws people to that network, I don't know if you finish airing the season or not. I would. I mean, obviously you're gonna have a lot of bad PR and stuff like that going around, but you have the show. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
I mean, what they can say is that it happened before he did that.
Mm-hmm.
So that they shot all of that before any of that happened. And I think with wrestling it's a little bit different because it feels so like a sport. The whole that feeling of oh my god, this is a real guy, you know. That's the thing but like with Lucha Underground, because of them of the way that they do the show, everybody feels like a superhero, and you have a lot of these people under masks and stuff like that. You can sort of get away with it like you with the TV show. Whereas, when Chris Benoit did it, he's like right there front and center. He's one of your top guys. I mean, it's almost very much like, oh my God, there's this guy that's wrestling and he just killed someone. Like,
Yeah. You make a good point. You do, and I agree with that 100% because of the fact that you do have a lot of guys under mask. You only have a select few not under mask on that show, and it's not. I'm not throwing them under the bus. It was an interesting thought, and I wanted to throw it your guys' way. This is so far fetched. I mean, it really is way out left field. So I don't want people thinking I'm hating on Lucha Underground. I agree with their thought process. I just was kind of curious what you guys thought about what I was mulling around in my mind. Well, anyway, that's quick hits for you guys. We're going to move on, and we are going to talk some Ring of Honor. That'll be next, and once again, a pretty cool show to talk about, actually. We'll be right back with some Ring of Honor.
Hold on. All right, Paul.
All right, so I'm going to be upfront right away, Gary. This is one of the best episodes of Ring of Honor television I've ever watched in its entire existence.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
It was actually really good. It really was.
This is an absolutely incredible hour of television. So you have the opening, and then you come in, and Kevin Kelly is sitting by himself ringside at the announce table, going over what he went over last week. It's Jay Lethal, Kyle O'Reilly one-on-one for the ROH World Heavyweight Championship. He hypes it up, this big deal. They've dedicated the whole hour to it, and Kyle O'Reilly comes out very quickly after all that. But before Lethal comes out, Adam Cole comes on the microphone and says it's story time, and he comes out saying that, hey, the promise is still there, Kyle. I'm going to make sure you're never the ROH World Champion. And I am, in fact, going to be the guy that beats Jay Lethal, not you. And tonight, Kyle, you're not even going to be able to challenge Lethal. The Young Bucks hit the ring very quickly, hit him with a double super kick. Adam Cole comes in with a chair. He beats on him some more. The Bucks grab another chair. They trap Kyle O'Reilly's arm into that chair and hold him down. And before Cole goes full Pillman on him, Kyle spits at him, and then he absolutely unloads onto the chair, and Kyle is just selling it like nobody's business. He's holding his arm. He's rolling around in agony. Bobby Fish comes out, runs him off. We very quickly cut to commercial, and we come back with Kevin Kelly announcing over a replay saying that Nigel is in the back scrambling to try to create some matches because Kyle has been injured so badly. And then we run into a backstage segment where a trainer is taping up Kyle's shoulder, and Kyle and Bobby are arguing, and Kyle O'Reilly seems very intent on still wrestling the match at this point, and Bobby's trying to talk him out of it before we cut back to ringside. Oh my God, what an opener, Gary.
You're telling me. It's kind of funny because I think we all kind of thought, okay, this is going to be a great episode because it's going to be just an hour-long show. I know I joked about it being an hour-long Broadway, but it wasn't going to be that. It was just going to be a lot of fun to watch. And when this went down, I was a little thrown off because it's like, wait, I thought this wasn't going to happen. And at first, I kind of thought, well, maybe they're putting it off for another week, and we'll see where it goes, especially with a little backstage interaction between Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly about him taping it up. you kind of thought, oh, what's going on? But yeah, this is great. It leads into some other great things that are very interesting. But I mean, man, what a hot way to start the show. Get people kind of pumped. Of course, Bullet Club is popular no matter what. But I think it's good for storyline, right, Sean? I mean, do you like the storyline part of this?
Oh yeah, this is great because it goes into the Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly story that they've been doing for a long time now, and so it makes total sense for them to do this and to make it to where Kyle O'Reilly is not going to be 100% for this match or even have it at all. If if you're going to go by the kayfabe story, I was just wondering the whole time, like, why did it take forever for Bobby Fish to come out?
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean. It was like they beat on him. He beat him and hurt his shoulder. And then I think Bobby Fish must have been on the toilet or doing something else because, yeah, he took a long time.
Yeah, Bobby Fish is. This isn't the last time you'll see poor timing on his part as far as coming in to save his buddy. So, Nigel comes back down and he's talked about they got these standby matches and all this stuff. So that brings out Tough Guy Inc., which is Brutal Bob Evans and Tough Tim Hughes. They're taking on War Machine, and I don't need to tell you how this went. They absolutely destroy Tough Guy Inc. And not even maybe a minute. I wrote down a minute and a half, but I tell you what, they hit one of the damnedest fallouts I've ever seen in my life. I'm pretty sure Tim Hughes might have died. Just brutal. And then Shane Taylor and Keith Lee come down to attack War Machine. We get a huge brawl that ends with Hanson doing his amazing somersault tope from the top rope out to the floor. And we run right into another commercial break. But I'm getting amped for this Shane Taylor Keith Lee versus War Machine match. It should be something really special.
Yeah, it should be. It should be really fun to watch. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy what we got out of this. And so, I mean, just point blank, I mean, it seems like a matchup that I wasn't expecting to be, I expect to be okay. But it's actually one that I'm actually getting excited about. And that's kind of a weird emotion because I don't know. At first I wasn't sold, but now I kind of am. Sean, I mean, I don't know how happy you are about it, but I was kind of happy to see what they got tonight.
Are we talking about that? We starting to talk about the matches now?
Yeah, we're talking about the
I like the fact that they really promoted this as, well, these are matches we kind of had in the background in case, these guys didn't go long or whatever, and they really felt that way. Okay, we're just gonna have a squash. All right, whatever. And then, the guys come in and attack them and, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, they got a lot of good things when it came to just getting you excited. It really was what it was about, right? It wasn't about anything else, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hyped towards that coming tag match between the two teams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fine, but still something. I'm really excited for that match, personally. I don't know about you, Sean, but...
I mean, yeah. I don't know. Are we talking about the Shane Taylor and Keith Lee?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I haven't really seen a whole lot of them. Just saw them brawl, and it's like, okay, well, you want to see big dudes going at it. Never can go wrong with that.
That's fair. So we have two promos throughout this show as well, hyping up the main event for next week, which is the Briscoes taking on the Young Bucks. The Briscoes take a second to run down the Young Bucks, and later on the Young Bucks run down the Briscoes. And apparently it's the first time the IWGP Tag Champs have ever faced the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Champs in a match, so that's kind of cool too. And then we go to our next match, which is Cheeseburger taking on Will Ferrara, which lasts a whole maybe minute before the cabinet interrupts. Caprice Coleman announces that both of these guys don't meet the requirements to be pro wrestlers, so he's canceling the match, which he has no power to actually do. And ANX come on and say, look, you guys should go buy tickets because you should be sitting with the fans where you guys belong, or you're going to get beat down. So instead of it being a 3-on-2, Will and Cheeseburger just summon Moose, who gladly just comes down the ramp and accepts the tag match. So you have a 6-man between the cabinet, which is Caprice Coleman, and All Night Express taking on Moose, Will Ferrara, and Cheeseburger. A fun little match.
everybody sort of gets to hit their stuff, and then Cheeseburger eventually falls prey to some Manex double teaming.
Yeah, I mean, before I talk about the match, I do want to say something with Briscoe's promo. I love it. I thought it was so funny because they said, "Quit telling me about your little ding." So what are the? I can't remember what they actually said. But your little dinglings, I'll just say it that way, because I think they said dive on him.
I'll dive on him. Yeah,
I love that. That was hilarious. I'm sorry. So good job, Briscoes. And then of course talking about this, the cabinet. They're annoying, but that's what they're supposed to be. And actually, to be honest with you, I kind of thought that these guys have something really smart, because this is something I totally see straight out of WWE. If you're asking me, I totally could see this on Raw, and it actually worked the way they're doing it. And I think they got the right guys for it, if you ask me. So I liked what they were saying because it's just kind of interesting. It's something that you get a chance to hear about on wrestling podcasts. It's something you get to hear on, of course, the internet about the old school versus the new school. And these guys are trying to basically portray the whole old school way of thinking as the big guys are the more important guys. These little guys that are not as, cut, don't have a lot going for them apparently because they're not cut. That has nothing to do with wrestling skill, just because of the way they look. I like that. I like the way the cabinet's, doing that whole story with them. And Moose being a part of this was fun. I liked it. I kind of thought it was weird, though, for them just to be able to summon Moose. I mean, is Moose kind of like a superhero? Is he kind of like a Pokemon? You can just summon him anytime you need him? Like, Moose, I choose you, kind of thing. I don't know. Just looking at that weird, I guess.
Well, that's the next they had, what was it? Poke Rock today came out, and Rock made his own Pokemon, so
yeah.
They need Moose to be the next Pokemon come out there and just
So it was weird to me that Moose didn't win this matchup with them, because this has got to be one of the last tapings he's on with Ring of Honor.
I think this is the last taping. I bought I bought both the Women of Honor show and the Ring of Honor show that followed that from the 8th of this month, which I believe was his last date for him. So yeah, I think this was his last TV taping for sure, because I haven't done another one yet.
I guess maybe it makes sense he doesn't win. The cabinet needs to win, so I had no problem with it. I just thought it was interesting. You call out the big guy, and he ends up not really doing anything for you in the end of the day. So thought that was interesting. But the cabinet, good job.
Yeah. So after the match, Kevin Kelly receives confirmation from Nigel McGuinness, who ran off into the back at the beginning of that last match, as he was getting some breaking news, and he confirms that Kyle O'Reilly is refusing the doctor's advice, and he's going to take his title match tonight, and that match is up next. So we bring Kyle O'Reilly down the ring, we have Jay Lethal come down, and Lethal already looks kind of hesitant, so he grabs the microphone and tells Kyle that they don't have to do this match right now. Kyle's already proven how much the title means to him by simply stepping in the ring with how busted up he is. And Kyle O'Reilly pretty much says, I appreciate your concern, but fuck it, man, let's just wrestle. And so they do. The bell rings, and the storytelling in this match is absolutely top-notch. Kyle O'Reilly is he's a perfectionist at selling the shoulder. Jay Lethal looks very conflicted throughout the whole match. The best part to me was anytime he accidentally hit the shoulder or he did target the shoulder, he just looks like he kind of hates himself a little bit. He's doing the dives on the outside. The crowd chants one more time, and Lethal just sort of looks at him like they're a bunch of sick savages for wanting him to inflict more pain on Lethal, even though he's already in so much. And it's just so great. And they do a great job of keeping Kyle O'Reilly in the fight. He has plenty of spots where it looks like he's going to win. He even gets the little, whenever Lethal comes down with the Hail to the King top rope elbow, he catches him in the arm bar like he does with so many other guys who do a top rope maneuver. But Lethal finally puts him away. He does 5 shoulder breakers in a row on the bad shoulder and goes for a lethal injection, and Kyle can't get up. So he tells the referee, hey, man, check on him. Kyle refuses. They trade some heated blows before he finally he hits him in the shoulder. and then hits lethal injection, and that's the match, and Lethal retains. And what a match! What a match of the year for sure for me. This is amazing.
Definitely, and I totally agree because they played this angle of an injured guy has no reason or should never be in a ring like this when he's that injured, and they told that story to perfection. O'Reilly sold it, and just it was just amazing. That's all I can. It's kind of speechless about that. But I will say this: throughout the match, you get some of those spots, like the shoulder breakers, things like that. And what I did love is when you think Kyle O'Reilly finally finds a way to get this thing under control and to win, and the arm breaker on Jay Lethal, I loved it. He had to use his other arm to do it, but he still did it. And Jay Lethal was having a tough time, but Jay Lethal was able to get out of it. And the only way he could get out of it was because he had to stomp on the bad shoulder of O'Reilly. I love that. Like you said, Paul, the storytelling in this match, it made so much sense, and you knew really he didn't want to do it. Jay Lethal did not want to have to injure him, but he says it's either make sure you target the area that's hurt the worst so you don't lose this match and lose your title, or you just lose the title. And he chose keeping the title over, losing to a guy with one arm. So I think this is, really well done. Match of the year candidate for sure. And what's kind of cool is, it seems like it just in the last 24 hours, we've got 2 match of the year candidates in a way, if you want to say it that way. I love that. And so here you go. Good stuff out of these guys.
Oh yeah, this was a fantastic match, and just, man, the storytelling was great, as you guys said. It's when you gotta do 5 shoulder breakers to make sure he stays down, it's amazing. And I love the fact that we got face Lethal here, so he's trying to be fair in all this, and it tells more story just from being able to see that, instead of him just doing what normally you'd see Jay Lethal win by all means. He's coming out here and trying to be fair with O'Reilly, and it makes it even better. It adds so much to the match that wouldn't be there if you just try to go out there and just have a match without all that. So to me, the way they did this was fantastic, and yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then we get into the post-match. The referee hands Lethal the belt, which he looks absolutely disgusted with himself for as he makes his exit. And then the Bullet Club come back into the ring. They beat up Kyle some more. Security runs down, but Cole holds them all off with the chair. And the Young Bucks hit a spiked tombstone, essentially, onto the steel chair. Bobby Fish is once again late with the save, but he comes running off again. You have Lethal coming back down. And then Nigel gets in the ring with the microphone, who is super pissed off at the Bullet Club, and tells Cole that he will never get a shot at the ROH World title again. And that's how the show ends. And the unfortunate part is we already know somehow Adam Cole finds a way to get the title shot, because him and Jay Lethal are going to go one-on-one for the belt at Death Before Dishonor.
Yeah. I don't know what kind of dirt he has on Nigel. There's going to be something,
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's a Katie Vick situation that you don't know about until later. So hopefully we'll find out that. But anyway, just before we get to that part, I guess we'll have to kind of figure out why it took Lethal and Bobby Fish so long to get down to the ring. Can't figure that out. Were they in catering? Did they have Dana Brooke on the phone? What was going on here? I'm just trying to figure out why they knew O'Reilly's out there by himself. If the Bullet Club shows back up, they're going to do some more damage. Well, they were, and they were nowhere to be found. So maybe I understand Jay Lethal. He just had a big match, but Bobby Fish, you're not doing anything else on this show. Get your boys back. Sit in the front row, sit behind the curtain. Don't just be, hanging out and talking to producers. So I don't know.
Yeah,
that's my thinking. I guess that's Ring of Honor. So
that's it. Yeah.
Great stuff this week. Once again, I love this episode. I hope they have more good ones like these. have some that are really great and some that are just kind of there. This one was really great. So, well, we are going to, conclude this show. We've had a lot of great discussions, a lot of good things to come out of this. We want to let everybody know that once again, if you want to catch all the action, we are going to be doing a SmackDown review show tomorrow night, and it'll be on the download on Wednesday morning for you guys who listen on the download. And of course, we'll be back on the download on Friday morning with our part 2 of Wrestling in the Max 205. We got lots of stuff coming your way, lots of great NXT talk. Don't forget about that. Plus, we're talking some Impact Wrestling with Broken Matt Hardy, probably still going crazy and doing amazing things. So you don't want to miss that show at all. Lots of great stuff coming your way for that show. W2M Network is there. Go be a part of it if you're not. Go subscribe. Go rate and review for us. We really appreciate all of you guys that have already done it. But if you haven't rated and reviewed this show, please go do it. It just does us a solid. It really does. It gets us out there. It lets people see about this show. We already have the Facebook group that has, a lot of people in it, over 1,000 people strong, who are talking wrestling on a daily basis, 24 hours a day. And they know about the show, but man, we want other people to have the opportunity to know about the show. And, people that just don't understand that this is available. So please go do that. But Sean, do you want to, plug anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, we're doing New Japan G1 Extra here right after we get done with this, talking nights 4 and 5, and then we'll be caught up because they take a break tomorrow or later today or whatever you want to see it as. And then they're right back to the action again on the 27th with more B-Block action. So at least you get a break finally after 4 straight days of shows. It's been a little hectic, but glad that we can finally get things back in order the way they should be. And, of course, on Tuesday night, after we do SmackDown, Tom will join Paul and I to talk some Dragon Gate Kobe World. This is their big show of the year, their WrestleMania, and we'll be breaking it down and talking about it. So, yeah.
Oh, lots of great stuff. I mean, and trust me, you don't want to miss all the action going on the W2M Network. Lots of great shows. I'm not going to run down the whole list for you right now. It's just a lot. So just go at it. Go subscribe, and you'll get a chance to find lots of great content that you're not going to doubt, that you're going to enjoy. Well, besides that, guys, we just want you, to enjoy the rest of your week, and we will catch you guys on that SmackDown review show. Until then, we want you to always remember, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all.
You know it.
Peace.
Later.